Hello, and welcome to the Zoom moderator training. Once you've logged into your Zoom account, you can start your meeting by clicking on the Start button. Just hover over your meeting and you'll see it. You can also start your meeting through a calendar link or an email link. You'll notice a window pops up and it asks you to join the audio session. Just click on the Join with Computer Audio. On the free version of Zoom, you can join through the computer audio only. If you have a paid account, you can allow people to join through the telephone audio as an option. Now that our meeting has started, I want to review the audio and video settings. This is an essential step in making sure that you have the best overall experience. In the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom window on most computers, you will notice an audio settings menu with an up arrow. Just click on the up arrow and then select audio settings. Here you can select different speakers to ensure that you can properly hear, and then press the test button to verify the sound. You can also likewise do the same thing for the microphone and select the different microphones if you have any and choose test mic to make sure that your output is heard properly. So I'll go ahead and close this window and we'll review some of the other options in our control panel. The next one is the Start Video. If I click on this button here, it will allow me to start my video camera. I can also choose the up arrow, and if I have multiple cameras installed, I can select a different camera. You can choose video settings as well if you'd like to touch things up a little bit. The next one is Security. If I click on Security, it gives me some of these options that I can have preloaded or I can just change on the fly. The Enable Waiting Room was already enabled in my earlier settings, but I can lock the meeting if I know I have the appropriate number of people in my meeting and I don't want anyone else joining. I can allow participants to share their screen, but by default it's turned off as a security feature. And here I can just check and uncheck chat and allowing participants to rename themselves and unmuting themselves. I can also remove a participant if I'd like to. So let's move over to the Participants button. If I click on this button, and I'm going to drag this window in so you guys can see it all, it shows me a list of my class participants. Now right now it's just me as the host and one other class member. And if you look here, you see that my mic up top here is moving and it shows that I'm speaking. And it shows that there's a red slash through my camera so that my video is turned off. Now I see that class member 1 has themselves muted and their camera is turned off. If I hover over class member 1, I can ask them to unmute. And if I choose more, I can ask them to start their video. I can choose to make them a host if they need host privileges. I can let them record. The main one you're probably going to use is rename. So if I wanted to rename this person because they just got in with a different name, I could rename them. They could rename themselves as well, but I could find out maybe this is just Sister Jones. And then it renames so everyone in the meeting would see that that's Sister Jones. And I can put them back in a waiting room if necessary, and I can also remove them. And that's kind of the same way that we had down below with the security option to remove a participant. So next I'd like to show you what happens if you have the waiting room feature enabled. If someone enters your class, you'll see in this top right area of the screen that someone's sitting in your waiting room. You can hover over top of them and choose the Admit button. Once you click Admit, it will then allow them to enter the meeting. The next feature is the chat feature. Now if you have chat enabled and you click on chat, this would be for anyone in the meeting. You have the chat window that opens up and you can choose if you want to send your chat message to everyone in the meeting, or if you click the drop down, you can select an individual from the attendees or participants. So I could send Sister Jones or Tina Hartman a message. You notice that when you select someone individually, it shows that you're choosing to send them a private message. If you choose everyone, it goes to everyone. I'm going to send a message in from Tina, and everyone will see this message. Hi, Brother Hartman, can you tell me what lesson we're on? I could just reply back, or if someone else was attentive, they could do the same thing. We are in, come follow me, blah, 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 enter, and then everyone gets that message. So one of the options that attendees have the ability to do is to raise their hand. Now, you as the moderator may say, please raise your hand if you have a question about X, Y, or Z, or just anything. And they may raise their hand. Well, when an attendee or a participant raises their hand, it puts them in the queue in the order in which they raised their hand. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So as an attendee, Tina Hartman just raised her hand, and you see that little blue hand goes up. I can lower the hand, and then the next person down, after I answered the question, the next person down on the list, if they had their hand raised, would move up to the top. Now, if you were sharing your screen, so let me go and share my screen really quickly, and somebody raised their hand, you would notice right here a little pop-up window that might flash on the screen that says Tina Hartman has her hand raised. And so you could then go over to the participants and see that Tina has her hand raised, or you could lower her hand. Now, if I want to get a little bit more of my real estate freed up on the screen, and I don't want to see the chat window, and I don't want to see the participants window, I can do one of a couple things. I can click on the chat button here, and it will minimize it, or I can just choose the drop down and close it. And I can do the same thing with participants and close, and then it minimizes that screen for me, so then I can get more screen real estate. So the next button I want to talk about is the share screen button down here. This is a really important button because this is what's going to help you display your screen and share materials with your class members. So if I click on share screen, a new window pops up, and I'll explain some of these options that you have here. The screen option in the top left, that is sharing your entire desktop. Everything that you have on your screen, whether it's shortcuts and notes that you have on your desktop. These ones down below are actually open applications that you have. So if you have Microsoft Word open or Adobe Acrobat open, it would be just that window or that application. And so depending on what you're doing, if you're moving around between a lot of different applications, you may want to share your screen so that you're not interrupting the class and they're missing something. For this purpose, I'll just share one of the windows. But first I'll also talk about Whiteboard. Whiteboard's an option where if you want, you can just click on Whiteboard and you can have an option to just draw whiteboard things out, make notes, and you can kind of keep that open between, in the class, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So right now, I'll just click on this window, and I'm just going to share this one application. This is where I have my Come Follow Me open, and I could be working with class this way. So one of the things you may want to try is when you're working in your class, you can click on any of these links in the Come Follow Me manual or what you have online. If I click on this link, it's going to display it off to the right. You can also have some of these preloaded if you want in tabs up here. If you right click and choose Open Link in New Tab, it will then open 3rd Nephi verse 8 through 11, and it'll open it up in a tab up here, and you can kind of have some of these and just click on the various tabs. And if I'm done here, I can certainly close this window. So one of the questions you may have is, how do you stop sharing? Well, if you take your mouse and you go up to the top, you can click on the Stop Share. If you also move it over to the left a little bit, it brings up your control panel, and this allows you to mute yourself or, again, start your video, get to your participants list, or anything else that you may need. This is kind of your go-to place. And one of the options you have is the New Share button. New Share just allows you to switch directly to a new shared window. So if you choose New Share, you don't have to stop sharing. You can go straight to a different window and share that window. And then another option you have up here is called Annotate. Annotate brings up a new set of menu or a new set of controls and allows you to make notes directly on the screen. So right now you see I have a little pen marker. I can choose to draw squiggly lines, and I can say I want to highlight this area here, and then if I choose to clear that, I can choose to clear all drawings, or just my drawings, or only the viewer drawings. Right now I'm just going to choose to clear everything. It's easier. If I wanted to choose to make a note or a stamp for an arrow, I can choose this spotlight option and the arrow, and what it does is it drops a little arrow with my name on it. Now, everyone else as an attendee can also do this, and we'll go over that in the attendee Zoom training. But you can kind of move that around and say, this is where I'm focused right here. And you can kind of just move it around. Also, if you look here, now it's marked as arrow. If I highlight arrow and then choose this little spotlight tool, this allows me to it just spotlights my pointer so that people can see exactly where I'm moving around. And if I want to clear this, I just hit clear. So there are a lot of other options with annotation that you can kind of toy around with if you'd like to change the color or the width of your line or the size of your font, undo or redo things. You can also save your annotation, save it out as probably as a PDF, and then you could send that to the class. So if you ran into a problem, because again, by default, annotation is allowed by the class members, and you had too many people, using the annotation, you could go up here to More and choose Disable Annotation for Others. So just an option. So now that we're done with annotation, I'll just close this window. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I'd like you, this is a really important tip if you're going to be sharing video. So if you go to share screen and you have an actual video, whether it's YouTube or something that you downloaded, you really need to have this button checked, share computer sound. Now, this other one here that says optimize screen sharing for video clip, it sounds like that would be a really smart one to use because it's going to make things better. But actually, it reduces the quality of the video. So you're really best to leave this unchecked and just make sure you have this share computer sound checked. That way, when you're playing the video, it will then broadcast for everyone else in the Zoom meeting. And as I said earlier, I was going to come back and circle around and show the whiteboard. I'll show you the whiteboard. We don't need share computer sound checked. It wouldn't matter either way, but I'll just double click on whiteboard. Gives me essentially a blank canvas for annotation. If I needed to draw something, if I needed to draw the tree of life, I could, draw the tree of life and the iron rod, and you artistes will skewer me here for my poor artistic ability, but nevertheless, you get the idea. I can drop in text and say life, and we could make notes, we could do all of these things, and I could save out the whiteboard just like I could for regular annotation, and I could clear it just the same. So that is the whiteboard feature. So this concludes the moderator training for Zoom, and I'm going to also go into just a basic training for general attendees. And this really just gives you a start. There's lots to play around with. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's been of some benefit to you. Thanks for watching.